Hello everyone, good afternoon. So here is Dr. English Shrivastava, the retired zoology professor, and this is my YouTube channel, Adarsh, a platform for the students to learn and the teachers to teach. So our today's topic, which we are going to discuss, is Brachiopoda. Actually, this topic I have been asked by my MSc students of semester one, but in Jamshedpur Women's College, the session is very regular and their examinations are already have been started. So, as per their demand, I have stopped this video to release before they have asked so many other topics like the systematics, taxonomy, classification, then question answer patterns, etc. So after that, again, I'm on this topic because I found this topic very interesting. And this is a topic of the semester one. And there are many colleges where the examinations are yet to be held for the MSc Part 1. So let us start with the Brachiopoda, a phylum, very much interesting phylum that is included in the Trochozoans, a group formed of the bivalve shelled animals. एक ग्रुप एनिमालिया का है जिसमें इंक्लूड किया गया है ब्रैकियोपोडा को, शेल्ड एनिमल्स को, along with the bivalves and trilobites. जो शेल एनिमल्स को ज्यादातर इनमें इंक्लूड किया गया है और इवोल्यूशनरी कुछ फैक्ट्स भी दिस ट्रोकोजोआ ग्रुप में इंक्लूड किए गए हैं, इंक्लूडिंग द conditions of the deuterostomes and protostomes. So that we will see when we will discuss the evolutionary history. That is a long and interesting chapter that we can see in details in a separate video. If you require, you just comment it. So today's topic is classification, distribution, and characteristics together. Now, this is so before we proceed, this is a phylum which includes the largest number of fossil records. The most, actually हम ये कह सकते हैं कि ब्राकियोपोडा का स्टडी टैक्सोनॉमिस्ट के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से या जूलॉजिस्ट के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से या इकोनॉमिकल पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से कम इम्पॉर्टेंट है, और इसका ज्यादा इम्पोर्टेंस है आर्कियोलॉजिकल स्टडीज जिनका इंटरेस्ट हो, पैलियोंटोलॉजिकल स्टडीज में रादर ज्यादा इंटरेस्ट हो, क्योंकि लार्जेस्ट फॉसिल रिकॉर्ड बाइवाल्व्स का, सॉरी नॉट बाइवाल्व्स, ब्रैकियोपोडा का आज की डेट में अवेलेबल है, बिकॉज the body covered with the two shells which can be recorded. और ये भी बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग है जानना कि एक समय था कार्बोनिफेरस पीरियड के बाद पैलियोजोइक एरिया जबकि पीक पर था इनका डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ब्रैकियोपोड्स का, करीब 30,000 स्पीसीज वेर रेसाइडिंग इन दैट पीरियड ऑन दिस अर्थ. हालांकि मास एक्सटिंक्शन और बहुत सारे नोन एंड अननोन रीजंस की वजह से आज की डेट में हार्डली 358 to 400 कुछ टैक्सोनॉमिस्ट का है स्टेटमेंट 350 360, बट extension estimated extension of number is 400 species are now only living on earth at present. So ये एक बहुत interesting factor. So let us see one by one. This is here. These are the fossil brachiopods. ये जितने brachiopods हैं इनका actually these are the shells of the fossil brachiopods, and these are the living lamp shells. Commonly brachiopods are called as lamp shells. This is the photograph. See how beautiful and variously colored these brachiopods are looking. और इनका जो appearance है that resembles the oil lamps of Greek people. So that is why they are commonly called as the lamp shells. So now let us come to the another slide, that is etymology. कैसे इनका नाम पड़ा है Brachiopoda? That is most probably it has been derived from the two Greek words brachion meaning an arm and pous is a foot. So the foot and arm together are held and within the shell, and hence this group has been referred as Brachiopoda. So, as I have discussed you, the brachiopods are not economically very much important phylum, but they are of much interest for the paleontological studies. At largest number of fossil records are available. They are commonly called as lamp shells. Now, these are some of the species of the living brachiopods. These are the names, and these are the. This is mainly their shell structures. The body is covered with the two shells, dorsal and ventral cell. This is here you are looking, this is very interesting. We will see they are just now we will see that they have been included in the larger superphylum or the clad Lophophorata because of presence of an internal endoskeleton that is formed of in many forms it is very soft, but in many forms it has become, it is just looking like the ribs cage, rib ke cage ki tarah dikhta hai. These are called as lophophores, and due to the presence of lophophores, due to the presence of these lophophores, crown की तरह के structures हैं, internal skeleton जो पानी के flow को space provide करते हैं, जिस पानी पर इनका पूरा जिस पानी के अंदर जाने और बाहर निकलने पर इनकी पूरी फिजियोलॉजिकल मेटाबॉलिक एक्टिविटीज डिपेंड करती है, उसके लिए ये स्पेस बनाता है. और दिस इज द ग्रुप इन दिस इन स्पाइरिफर एंड सम अदर ब्राकियोपोड्स से बिल्कुल रिब के केज की तरफ, बास्केट की तरह थोड़ा हार्डन भी हो जाते हैं, कैल्शियम कार्बोनेट या कैल्शियम फॉस्फेट के बने हुए. सो दिस इज वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग स्ट्रक्चर. दिस इज द लोफोफोर. सो दैट इज इन इसी लोफोफोर के प्रेजेंस के बेसिस पर इस ग्रुप को ब्रैकियोपोडा को सुपरफाइलम या क्लैड में रखा गया है. दैट इज द लोफोफोराटा. दैट वी विल सी व्हेन वी आर गोइंग टू सी इन द नेक्स्ट स्लाइड द क्लासिफिकेशन. नाउ लेट अस सी द क्लासिफिकेशन. ब्रैकियोपोड क्लासेस का क्लासिफिकेशन में भी बहुत सारी कंट्रोवर्सीज हैं टैक्सोनॉमिस्ट के हिसाब से. एक व्यू पे ऑलमोस्ट एवरीवन इज स्टिकिंग कि ब्रैकियोपोडा के ग्रुप को दो मेजर डिविजन्स में, दो मेजर ग्रुप्स में डिवाइड किया जा सकता है. दैट इज द आर्टिकुलाटा एंड इनआर्टिकुलाटा. This is the Articulata, and the second group is Inarticulata. This classification has been given by classification was given by Dumeril in 1806, जिसको कि more or less अभी तक जितने भी इस classification के modifications दिए गए हैं by the different taxonomists. This classification, the broader aspect के पूरा ब्रैकियोपोडा फाइलम को दो बड़े भागों, दो मेजर ग्रुप्स में बांट सकते हैं. दैट इज द आर्टिकुलाटा एंड इनआर्टिकुलाटा. सो दिस आर्टिकुलाटा इज the group in which the brachiopods included. They are their valves are this the articulata. This group involves those brachiopods. Here is the example. So there are so many examples. Just we will see in the different orders. The articulata here is the usually the characteristic is that the hinge, as I have told you, the two valves are there, dorsal and ventral valves. When they fit together in articulata, these two valves, they articulate in a very peculiar manner. That is called as the cardinal process, जहाँ पर एक heart के shape का स्ट्रक्चर की तरह बनता है, जिसमें फैसेट्स बने हुए होते हैं और एक वाल्व में टीथ बने हुए होते हैं. तो ये टूथ एंड सॉकेट टाइप ऑफ जॉइंट से आर्टिकुलाटा के दो वाल्व्स एक दूसरे से आर्टिकुलेट करते हैं, बिल्कुल टाइटली फिट रहते हैं. यहाँ पे मसल्स से की हेल्प से इनकी इन दो वाल्व्स की ओपनिंग एंड क्लोजिंग कम होती है, बल्कि ये हिंज जॉइंट जो टॉप में होते हैं वहां पे टूथ एंड सॉकेट या ग्रूव एंड सॉकेट टाइप के का आर्टिकुलेशन रहता है दो वाल्व्स का. सो दोज आर द ब्रैकियोपोड्स which are having this tooth and socket type of articulation, whereas the another group is inarticulata, where the muscles play the important role abductor, diductor, and adductor muscles. There are three groups of muscles which together help. In the next diagram, in the coming slide, we will see abductor and adductor and diductor muscles are there, which help in closing and opening of the valves of. This is the diagram. These are the. This is the inarticulate brachiopod with the groups of muscles. These are the adductor muscles, these are the abductor muscles, and these are diductor muscles. This is the anterior view, this is anterior part, this is posterior part. The shell is closed over here and the shell is open over here. That this is the diagrammatic representation how the muscles they help in opening and closing of these inarticulate brachiopods. So we were looking into the main classification, the basis of the classification that is broadly accepted. Latter in 1990 till 1990 बहुत सारी controversies हुई. आज की डेट में जो largely accepted view है उसके हिसाब से there is a three-part approach of the classification of Brachiopoda. That is, the first approach is traditional classification. The group is divided into inarticulata and articulata. The second approach is calciata approach, जिसमें कि shell का जो chemical element है जिसका shell बना हुआ है, that is, on the basis of that it is of two groups are there, lingulata and calciata, on the basis of material of shell made up of. Again, inarticulata and articulata are not rejected here. In articulata में usually the lingulata group को माना जाता है और articulata में calciata group माना जाता है, जिसमें लिंगुलिफॉर्मिया या ये जो ऑर्डर्स हैं जो बाद में एक्सेप्ट किए गए हैं, these orders they are formed of calcium phosphate or chitin like substance, and in calciata all the valves are formed of calcium carbonate or calcium phosphate largely. Then there is the three-part approach, that is the inarticulata includes two forms, linguliformia and craniformia, and articulata includes rhynchonelliformia. That another view is that the three groups are there, not in rather inarticulata includes linguliformia, then craniformia is the third group, and the articulata group includes the rhynchonelliformia. And there are 5 orders which include all the living brachiopods. There are huge number of orders that majority of which have become extinct. So this is the living orders are Linguilida, Dicinida, Cranida, Terebratulida, and Rhynchonellida. This is one up till now आज के दिन में सबसे ज्यादा accepted classification है. But ये भी बहुत ध्यान देने की बात है कि taxonomist का ज्यादा view ये है कि most of the Brachiopod taxonomists believes it is premature to define higher level of classification such as order, and recommend instead a bottom-up approach that identify genera and then groups into intermediate groups. बहुत ही यूनिक तरह से इसका क्लासिफिकेशन दिया गया, that is visible here. Kingdom is Animalia, superphylum is Lophotrophozoa, clade is Lophophorata, another clade is Brachiozoa, then phylum is Brachiopoda. This is the classification given by Dumeril in 1806, which has been accepted 1990 के बाद से ज़्यादा क्लासिफिकेशन पर वार क्या ज़्यादा व्यूज नहीं आए हैं ब्रैकियोपोडा के क्लासिफिकेशन के, और इन मेजॉरिटी दिस classification with more or less modifications have been accepted in 1990. So the details you can go through. अगर we are थोड़ा सा भी हम चूंकि 3 aspect हमको देखना है, distribution, classification and the characters of Brachiopoda, और तीनों ही अपने आप में एक मेजर चैप्टर है, तो we will go a bit short. मैं मेजर पॉइंट्स डिस्कस कर दे रही हूँ यहाँ. For your notes you can go through these slides. Now, this is the 3-part approach in 1990 that we have seen just now. Other important parts of the classification is here. In general, ये तो universally accept किया गया है कि ब्रैकियोपोडा के दो लार्जर कैटेगरीज हैं, दैट इज इनआर्टिकुलाटा, जहाँ पे मसल्स ज्यादा प्ले करते हैं वाल्व्स को ओपन खुलने और बंद करने में, और आर्टिकुलाटा जहाँ पर वाल्व्स को खोलने और बंद करने के लिए टीथ एंड सॉकेट टाइप ऑफ ग्रुप्स डेवलप करते हैं. और another important feature of this group is that is when we will see in this chapter, we are not going to see the affinities or the evolution and phylogeny, because वो अपने आप में एक बहुत बड़ा chapter है. अगर आप interest show करेंगे तो we can go again a separate video or a separate class on that, जिसमें जिसके हिसाब से हम ये देख रहे थे ब्रैकियोपोडा और आर्टिकुलाटा एंड इन आर्टिकुलाटा ग्रुप्स, they are having evolutionary or phylogenetic importance they are having with the bivalves. और एक ये भी व्यू है कि bivalves के evolution के बाद ही इनका मास एक्सटिंक्शन हुआ, क्योंकि इनकी जगह bivalves लेने लग गए. तो एक evolutionary significance तो है ही, और एक important characteristic ये है कि ब्रैकियोपोड्स में जो सिस्टम है, जो दो वाल्व्स हैं, इसमें भी डॉर्सल एंड वेंट्रल वाल्व है. बाइवाल्व्स मोलस्का में आता है, यूनियो जिसका एग्जांपल है, उसमें भी दो शेल्स के दो पार्ट हैं, अपर एंड लोअर. बट ज्यादा यूनिकनेस ये है कि बाइवाल्व्स में राइट एंड लेफ्ट साइड से खुलता है शेल्स, जबकि इन ब्रैकियोपोड्स upper and dorsal and upper movement they show like this, and the dorsal valve or the pedicel valve is smaller than the ventral valve, that is the brachial valve. और इनआर्टिकुलाटा फॉर्म्स में ये जो दो वाल्व्स हैं, इनके द पेडिसल वाल्व द पोस्टीरियर साइड में, इन दो वाल्व्स के बीच से एक, यहाँ पे आप देख सकते हैं, दो वाल्व्स के बीच से एक पेडिसल निकला रहता है, जिसकी सहायता से ये फिक्स फॉर्म्स, द ब्रैकियोपोड्स आर sessile also, are found sessile also, and they are found freely living also. So sessile forms, in sessile forms they remain attached with the substratum with the help of a pedicel, and there are two valves, the pedicel valve and the branchial valve, dorsal and branchial, that we will see when we will do morphology. So this is the classification, a three-level approach, and these are the main orders of the Brachiopoda. The class Inarticulata includes these 6 orders, out of which only these 3 orders are having the living forms: the order Lingulida, order Acrotatida, and Dicinida. These are the 3 orders that include the living brachiopods. These 3 orders are completely extinct, and then in class Articulata, only 2 orders are having the living forms: order Rhynchonellida and order Terebratulida. Other 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 other 5 orders, they are now extinct. So this is broadly the classification. In short, of course, as I have told you, all the 3 aspects themselves are large enough to discuss in a separate classes, where we are discussing here together for a general class. So this is the phylogeny of major brachiopod orders, as seen here. This is the sign of the extinct forms. This is extinct, this is extinct, this is extinct, this order is extinct. So it is well evident here, majority of orders are extinct. Only the living forms are Lingulata, Craniformia, that is Cranida, Rhynchonelliformia, that includes the Rhynchonellida and Terebratulida. These are the 2 orders of major crown-clad Rhynchonelliformia. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Only 5 orders are living orders. All orders have become extinct. So with this ends the classification. Let us see the brachiopod distribution. This view that we are discussing here has been described by Derek Victor Eger. this agar or ager, as you these you can this is again a very wide distribution, very large chapter as given by Derek Victor. You can go through the Google search पे आप जाकर के इसको खोज सकती हैं, पूरा एक बड़ा chapter it is by Brachiopod distribution पे. I have selected some of the points, and even this point I will discuss only a few out of this detailed slides. We are not going to discuss each and every point. The important points are that they ranged from Lower Cambrian to the present. Lower Cambrian era से आज तक वो हैं, but पीक पर वो पहुंचे थे डिवोनियन में और परमियन में, और उसके बाद पैलियोजोइक के बाद उनका मास एक्सटिंक्शन शुरू हुआ, और धीरे धीरे वो काफी उनका नंबर ऑफ स्पीसीज एंड फॉर नोन और अननोन रीजन, बहुत सारे रीजन अभी भी नोन नहीं है, बट अचानक से 30,000 स्पीसीज वेयर परमियन एंड पैलियोजोइक एरा में जब पीक पर था इनका डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन, और अराउंड 30,000 स्पीसीज वेयर नोन एट दैट टाइम. However, now there are only 396 living species of brachiopods. That is according to the Catalogue of Life. This is the important taxonomical details available in this catalogue. इस Catalogue of Life के हिसाब से अभी सिर्फ 396 living species are known, and this 30,000 fossil species have been recorded, with the largest fossil. This is the name Giganoproductus giganteus. This is the fossil Brachiopoda. Now these are the details. बहुत interesting ये भी लगा मुझे. अब इसमें before the BC and AC, this is 600 million years ago. This was the type of denotion of the era previously. इस एरा के हिसाब से 600 मिया, देन 230 मिया में पैलियोजोइक में ये पीक पर थे, सक्सेसफुल थे, और उसके बाद फिर धीरे धीरे बिगिनिंग जब हुआ कैम्ब्रियन में 600 मिया में, देन अबाउट 230 मिया दे रीच्ड द पीक, एंड आफ्टर दैट देयर मास extinction started. So at the end of the Jurassic, still have living species today. The modern Lingula anguis took almost identical to their Paleozoic ancestor of 400 मिया. 400 मिया में जो फॉसिल रिकॉर्ड्स हैं, उनसे अभी जो प्रेजेंट लिंगुला है उनका काफी identical similarities have been recorded. So this is the distribution in short. Their shells are hard calcareous structures. They are easily preserved in fossil record. So this is in very short their distribution. For details, I have given you the site. You can go through. Now let us come to the characters. Start with the characters and the structure. Characters including the habitat and their morphology as well as anatomy. And regarding their habit and habitat, we have already seen they are all marine, found in all parts of sea, mostly sessile animals attached to the substrate by a fleshy or horny pedicel. Many species are deep water specialists, so though some species such as living lingula, they live in burrows, live in relatively shallow coastal waters. Sea के हर level पे ये पाए जाते हैं. बेंथिक कहिए, पैलियोजोइक कहिए, शैलो कहिए, हर जगह they are present. They are all filter feeders. Filter feeders टर्म से अभी तक आप काफी फेमिलियर हो चुकी होंगे. हमने जब सिनॉप्सिस देखा था तब भी हम पढ़े हैं. दे फिल्टर देयर फूड पार्टिकल्स फ्रॉम द पासिंग ऑन वाटर करंट. जो वाटर करंट इनके बॉडी के थ्रू होकर के पास करता है, एंटरिंग एंड आउटगोइंग, उसके बीच से ये फूड पार्टिकल्स को catch करते हैं, and for that the lophophore plays a very important role. Lophophore we have discussed. एक anatomy में हम देखेंगे कि ये hardened part है, endoskeletal part है, जो कुछ forms में बिल्कुल ही harden हो जाता है, formed of calcium carbonate, और जो ribs के basket की तरह दिखाई देता है. इनमें और दोनों valves के बीच में भी spine की तरह के hard hair like structures निकले रहते हैं. उनकी सहायता से और लोफोफोर के coils. Lophophore is a spirally coiled structure in the brachiopods. तो जब पानी वहां से पास होता है तो उस दौरान लोफोफोर में का स्टिकी कंसिस्टेंसी होती है, जिसमें फूड पार्टिकल्स को हेल्ड कर लेता है एनिमल, और बाकी का क्लियर वाटर, रादर गंदा पानी आप कह सकती हैं कि काफी सारा फूड पार्टिकल के साथ एंटर करता है, और साफ पानी बाहर निकलता है विथ टेकिंग द रिप्रोडक्टिव गेमेट्स, एक्सक्रीटरी वेस्ट and the fecal matter, that is undigested food particle. So this is their way of habit and habitat. कहाँ रहते हैं, कैसे रहते हैं. Most species are gonochoristic, that is the dioecious forms having two separate sexes. Sexes are separate. Asexual reproduction this is very characteristic, that they are the non-chordates but asexual reproduction. ज़्यादातर non-chordates asexual reproduction से ही उनका mode of reproduction होता है, but here very specifically asexual reproduction is unknown in brachiopods. The animal attaches itself to the sea bottom by a pedicle, and that extends through an opening near the shell's hinge. The animal draws water in, filters out food, and the food is mostly phytoplankton, and then expels the water. So this is about the habit and habitat. The animal must exert muscle power to open the shell, and when the muscles are relaxed, the shell close. Unlike bivalves, the shell opens when cell relaxed. This is another important difference between the bivalve and this brachiopod. Bivalves में जब muscles relax करते हैं तो shell open होता है. In brachiopods जब muscles relax करते हैं तो shell बंद हो जाता है. This is a very important difference between the shell opening and closing of bivalves and brachiopods. So this is about habitat. Now there are some more. These are the structural peculiarities, starting with the shell structure. सबसे ज़्यादा important और interesting factor है brachiopods का shell का structure. Here you can see this is actually the typical फॉसिल ब्रैकियोपोड वी कैन से. इसी तरह से आज अब भी बहुत सारे ब्रैकियोपोड्स का बेसिक आर्टिकुलेट ब्रैकियोपोड्स ऐसे ही दिखाई देते हैं. दीज आर द स्पाइन लाइक हेयर्स और द हेयर ग्रोथ्स जो मार्जिनल और लॉन्गिट्यूडनल दोनों तरह से ग्रोथ करते हैं. इन द upcoming slides we will see regarding the development of these hair-like structures. This is a typical articulate brachiopod. This is the ventral valve. This is the dorsal valve, that is called as the brachial valve. The ventral valve is called as the pedicle valve. And this is the pedicle stalk that is found in the inarticulate brachiopods, that is less observed in the articulate forms. And this is the surface. So they are the sessile articulate forms. Sorry, this is an articulate brachiopod. So now this is the structure of shell. Shell structure is very interesting, and in the upcoming slides I'll show you the structures. Just have a look that the brachiopod shell is very hard structure, solid object that often remains intact long after the animal is dead. Animal के dead होने के बाद भी, animal के डिस्ट्रॉय होने के बाद भी, लिविंग में नहीं होने के बाद भी काफी दिनों तक ये शेल्स इंटैक्ट रहते हैं, जिनकी वजह से लार्ज फॉसिल रिकॉर्ड अवेल हो सके हैं. The shell is composed of 50% calcium carbonate or phosphate, which the animal extract from the sea water. Secrete करके बनाता है sea water से. The rest of shell is composed of either chitin, the same sort of molecule that insects use in their exoskeleton, or proteins. So the chitin is normal choice with only one genus, Crania, making use of protein. प्रोटीन का को शेल बनाने के लिए सिर्फ एक क्रेनिया ग्रुप में यूज किया जाता है, अदरवाइज ज्यादातर काइटिन की तरह का सब्सटेंस यूज करते हैं शेल बनाने के लिए ब्रैकियोपोड्स. In some brachiopod species, particularly fossil species, the shells have spine-like outgrowths that form a grid across the open space between the two walls of the shell when the animal is feeding. ये जब फीडिंग मैकेनिज्म हम देखेंगे तो डिटेल्स हम लोग देखेंगे कि किस तरह से ये जो हेयर की तरह के स्ट्रक्चर दैट वी हैव सीन हियर, how they grow and how they form a protective शेल लाइक कवरिंग खोल करके रखने के लिए वाल्व को, ताकि पानी आराम से जा सके. So these are some of the important points in the shell. They have possible sensory and storage role in animals' life. Now this is the shell morphology, some of the diagrams elaborating or explaining the shell morphology. This is the articulate type में hinge joint यहाँ पे है. This is here it is the hinge joint, and these are the concentric lines growing into the two valves. This is brachial valve, this is the pedicular valve, and in between this is the central hinge line जहाँ से concentric lines grow करते हैं with a particular area that is called as umbo, that we will see in the next slide. And this is the diagram. These are the commissures. The commissures are the concentric lines which together form close the two valves. These are the commissures, lines of closure of valves. And this is the posterior part. This is the posterior or the brachial valve. This is the anterior or the pedicel valve. And these are the teeth. This is the inarticulate type of forms. These are the hinge teeth. Here it is visible. ये teeth की तरह के structures हैं, छोटे छोटे जो दो teeth दिखाई दे रहे हैं. और in this are the socket ridge. This is the socket ridge where these two teeth they fit, and the opening is done in a cardinal process. In ये जो tooth and socket fixation होता है, that takes place in a cardinal process. That is heart की तरह का structure एक बन जाता है जिसमें ये fit होते हैं. और that is the adductor muscles. जब वो relax होते हैं तो बंद हो जाता है, जब वो contract करते हैं तो खुलता है. These are the concentric lines that are developing with the developing size of the valve, and this is the concentric lines. These are the posterior margin concentric regions, how they are growing into the growing valve of the brachiopods. Now this is the dorsal valve. That here the light areas are this is the diagrammatic representation. Of course, here you can see the development of the these are developing here the marginal CT. ये margin बनाते हैं, and these are the penetrative CT. These are developing in a vertical manner. So in the details you can take from here. The little explanation have been given here, or you can go through the Wikipedia Britannica, and there are certain more sites. If you are interested, I can give you right in comment box, because in itself only the details that I'm providing here is very long. Now this is the diagrammatic representation in the sagittal section of a Brachiopoda, that is Heliomedusa orienta. Here, this is the diagrammatic reconstruction of inferred relationship between mantle cavity, shell, visceral area, and two types of CT in a reconstructed process. These are the regions. The different regions have been shown here. This is the mantle cavity. This is the marginal CT. These are the marginal CTs, as we have seen here. It is developing. Then this is the shell, phosphatic shell. These are the penetrative CT. These are penetrative CT. These are the vertical CT or the penetrative CT. And this is the dorsal visceral region, जहाँ पर dorsal visceral organs होते हैं. This is the ventral visceral region, and this is the opening through which where water is expelled. or also from here, if it is stalk form, this is diagrammatic reason, the pedicle stalk will come out from here. So this is the shell morphology. Again, as I have told you, this is the cardinal process. Here is this diagram is showing very clearly. This is the opening for the pedicle stalk, जिससे कि ये fix रहता है. These are the teeth, and this is the cardinal area जहाँ पे एक हार्ट की तरह का शेप बना हुआ है, और इसमें ये सॉकेट्स बने हुए हैं जिनमें ये टीथ फिट होता है इन आर्टिकुलेट टाइप ऑफ ब्रैकियोपोड्स. दिस इज द groove and socket fixation of the hinge. Now these are the concentric developing line. This is the opening for the pedicle. This is the posterior view. This is the anterior view. This is the lateral view. And the same thing has been presented over here in a diagrammatic manner. This is the foramen. This is the beak of the animal. This is the ventral valve. This is the dorsal valve. These are the growth line coming out from a particular region. Here it is here. This is called as umbo. ये वो रीजन है जहाँ से ये कंसेंट्रिक लाइंस ग्रो करते जाते हैं, ऐड होते जाते हैं in the ventral as well as dorsal valves. These are also called as the growth lines. These are the concentric ridges or the growth lines. So this is the morphology of the shell. In some brachiopod species, fossil the spine-like growth we have already discussed. So these details you can take from these slides regarding the structural specificities of the shell. Now, this is another very important feature, different forms of convexity from brachiopod shells. ब्रैकियोपोड का क्लासिफिकेशन का ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट कैरेक्टरिस्टिक है. किस तरह से ब्रैकियोपोड के दो शेल्स, एक कॉन्वेक्स है, एक कॉन्केव है, तो किस तरह से कॉन्केविटी एंड कॉन्वेक्सिटी का रिलेशनशिप शेल्स के डिफरेंट ग्रुप्स में कैसा होता है, दैट इज इन शॉर्ट इट इज ग्रोन. अगेन a complete class can be taken on the shell, its structure, its convexity and concavity, playing the taxonomic importance that we will see. These are the different forms: biconvex, dorsiconvex, planoconvex, concavo-convex, concavo-convex, pseudo resupinate, convexo-concave. So these are the styles, different styles having taxonomic importance of the fitting of the shells. Now the shells grow continuously throughout the animal's life. New material is laid down along the larger rounded edge of the shell called the margin by the cellular epithelium. I have already told there is a region that is called as umbo. वहाँ से concentric lines grow करते हैं, and that is the outer surface is covered by a layer that is called as periostracum, formed of soft protein. And then it is the deposition goes on and the shell goes on becoming harder and harder in inarticulate and articulate forms. Now these are the details of the shells you can take. Let us come on the morphology, the brachiopod morphology. This is the umbo. I have to, just now I was telling you about the umbo. This is the umbo, the area from where these concentric growth lines are appearing, concentric ridges are being added. So the morphologically, we have already seen a number of characters. This is another very important characteristic of the Brachiopoda. They are exclusively bilaterally symmetrical. That is, again, it is said the Brachiopods are only the animals which are truly, in true sense, bilaterally symmetrical. That is unlike bivalve. Bivalve को भी अगर आप देखिए, they are usually also may be called as bilateral or asymmetrical animals. But true bilateral symmetry का मतलब हुआ two exactly equal mirror images of two halves. That is exactly found in brachiopods. इस तरह से exact bilateral symmetry observe की जाती है in the brachiopods. This is the details. Again, you can go through for all these chapters, all these topics. Brachiopoda इतना interesting topic है actually. I have found that I have seen also बहुत सारे लोगों ने ब्रैकियोपोडा को रिसर्च का टॉपिक चुना है, और वाकई इस पे इतना ज्यादा एक एक पार्ट पे इसके रिसर्च किए जा सकते हैं। ब्रैकियोपोड शेल पे अपने आप में इतने तरह से इसका स्टडी किया जा सकता है दैट वी डोंट हैव that much time, so हम थोड़ा फास्ट चलें। Body has more than 2 cell layers, tissues and organs. Body cavity, true coelom. Body possesses U-shaped gut with or without anus. Anus anal opening हो भी सकती है, नहीं भी हो सकती है। सिंगल ओपनिंग से पानी आके उसी ओपनिंग से बाहर निकल सकता है। U-shaped elementary canal होता है। Body enclosed in a pair of shell, one dorsal and other ventral. A nervous system with ganglionated circumesophageal ring. A true open circulatory system with one or more hearts. No gaseous exchange organs. Simple gaseous exchange होता है, जो सर्कुलेटरी मीडियम है उसके थ्रू कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड को बाहर डिफ्यूज आउट कर दिया जाता है, ऑक्सीजन को एक्सट्रैक्ट कर लिया जाता है बाय द टिश्यूज। And the lophophore is there as a very important organ that plays very important role in that intaking of the food intake में बहुत help करता है। Reproduction, sexual gonochoristic without true gonads. True gonads की तरह का structure नहीं होता है। During the breeding season only these gonads develop. They produce the so-called male and female gametes which are discharged into water. Sometimes the internal fertilization is also reported, that we will see in the coming slides. Feed on fine particles in water and all live in marine water. Now this is the diagram showing the internal structure or the anatomy of brachiopod. Of course, diagrammatic representation here. These are the all internal structures are here with the in the mantle cavity and in the body cavity. This is the digestive system. This is the lophophore. You must be looking here. This is the lophophore, the very important lophophore एकदम क्राउन की तरह का स्ट्रक्चर है, जिसकी ये जो इनफोल्डिंग है, स्पाइरल बाल है, और इसके साथ जो हेयर्स हैं, इन हेयर्स लाइक स्ट्रक्चर्स, स्पाइन लाइक स्ट्रक्चर्स में फूड इंटैंगल होते हैं, और ये धीरे धीरे कैल्शियम का कार्बोनेट का भी काफी फॉर्म्स में बना हुआ होता है। दिस इज द नेफ्रीडियम, दैट इज द एक्सक्रीटरी ऑर्गन. दीज आर द मसल्स, एडक्टर एंड diductor and adductor muscle. This is adductor muscle, this is adductor muscle, this is diductor muscle. Three types of musculature is there. This diductor muscle opens, adductor muscle closes, and adductor muscle, it maintains the equilibrium condition. Then this is the digestive diverticulum. They are acting as the digestive gland. So this is the internal anatomy, a diagrammatic representation of the internal anatomy. This is the opening. These are the spine-like structures, and this is the opening or the gape, it is called. This is the pedicell valve. This is a photograph, and this is the diagrammatic representation. And now here is the musculature of muscles of muscles separately drawn here. The catch adductor, quick adductor, socket valve, hinge axis, pedicel. These are the diductor muscle. These are the muscles that help in opening and closing of the bivalves. So the details are there. These points we have already seen. Mollusk से compare किया हुआ है. The details you can go through these points, these slides. Now let us come on the circulation and respiration. Usually it must have been started with food and respiration. हमेशा जब भी हम anatomy पढ़ते हैं, anatomical structure जब हम देखें, morphology we have done with here. The shell structure के साथ morphology हो गया. यहाँ से anatomy शुरू होनी चाहिए, और anatomy usually शुरू होता है digestive system से. But digestive system is very much elaborated with the filter feeding mechanism, so that we will see after this these 2 points, circulation and respiration. Circulatory system हम पहले भी देख चुके हैं, बहुत ज़्यादा elaborated नहीं है, but open type है. The lophophore and the mantle are the only surfaces that absorb oxygen. Respiration के लिए कोई भी specific mechanism नहीं है. ऑक्सीजन एब्जॉर्ब होता है, कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड आउटगोइंग वाटर के साथ एक्सपेल कर दिया जाता है. ऑक्सीजन सीम्स टू बी डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड बाय फ्लूइड ऑफ द सीलोम व्हिच इज सर्कुलेटेड through the mantle and driven either by contraction of lining of coelom or by beating of cilia. सीलोम का जो फ्लूइड है वो ब्लड की तरह काम करता है. कुछ कुछ स्पीसीज में ये ब्लड या ये फ्लूइड कुछ पर्टिकुलर रेस्पिरेटरी पिगमेंट्स भी इनमें होता है, दैट इज कॉल्ड एज हीम एरिथ्रिन, which is transported in coelomocyte cells. The maximum oxygen consumption of brachiopod is low and their minimum requirement is not measurable. ऑक्सीजन डिमांड इनका बहुत ज़्यादा नहीं है, बॉडी इनकी सॉफ्ट है, एनाटॉमिकली बहुत ज़्यादा स्पेस नहीं है जहाँ बहुत ज़्यादा मेटाबॉलिक एक्टिविटीज़ के लिए लार्ज अमाउंट ऑफ ऑक्सीजन की रिक्वायरमेंट हो. So now the circulatory system involves the colorless blood circulated by a muscular heart lying in the dorsal part of the body above the stomach. This is the region where the heart is. Stomach के ऊपर एक muscular heart is found to be present. The blood passes through vessels that extend to the front and back of the body and branch to organs including the lophophore at the front and the gut, muscles, gonads, and nephridia at the rear end. The blood circulation seems not to be completely closed. The coelomic fluid and blood must mix to a degree. An open type of blood circulation is said to be occurring here, showing its resemblances to some extent with the arthropods also. Main function of the blood may be to deliver nutrients, that is the assimilation. Now comes the food and respiration in brachiopods. The food, as we have already seen, this is mostly it is phytoplankton that is held by the lophophore and its spiral coiling and its adhering capacity of the hairs developed into the in a filtering manner. So as we have seen, this is the food respiration. So this is the feeding and respiration, digestion and respiration. Respiration को आप circulation से भी इंटैक्ट के साथ भी इंटैक्ट करके हम देख सकते हैं और digestion के साथ भी, क्योंकि जो इनकरिंग वाटर है वही सारे काम कर रहा है, रेस्पिरेशन भी, एक्सक्रीशन भी, सर्कुलेशन भी और डाइजेशन भी. So the body cavity, internal of the body is divided into two halves, the shell body cavity and the mantle cavity. The shell has two layers. The inner layer is called the mantle. This separates the outer portion of the shell which contains the lophophore. The body cavity दो भाग में डिवाइडेड हो गई है. इसके पहले हमने रिप्रेजेंटेशन जब देखा था डायग्रामेटिक, उसमें देखा था कि एक मैंटल कैविटी है, एक बॉडी कैविटी है. बॉडी कैविटी के फिर दो भाग हैं, डॉर्सल विसरल पोर्शंस एंड वेंट्रल विसरल पोर्शंस के लिए दो कैविटीज हैं. सो दिस इज द इंटरनल डिवीजन ऑफ द बॉडी ऑफ द ब्रैकियोपोड. That is mantle cavity, body cavity, or coelomic cavity. The body cavity is smaller than the mantle cavity. Then the lophophore is the animal's feeding and respiratory mechanism, supported except in very small pieces. Those less than 5 millimeter, जो बहुत छोटे छोटे हैं, उनमें lophophore may or may not be present. अगर है भी तो बड़ा symbolic stiffening rod के form में रह सकता है, but usually it is present in form of calcareous loop arising from the inner surface of the shell. The lophophore normally has two arms that rise out spirally into each half of the mantle cavity. इसके दो usually arms होते हैं और ये दो arms together spirally coiled रहते हैं, mantle cavity को raise करते हैं जिससे कि conveniently water pass हो सके. Each arm of lophophore is comprised of a number of slender parallel filaments. These filaments are mucus covered, and this is the very peculiar condition in Brachidia. These lophophore filaments, they have become calcified और ये आप देख सकते हैं कि जो ह्यूमन रिब का केज की तरह का अपीयरेंस है, दे रहा है रेज करके वाल्व के शेल में. सो दिस इज द photographic presentation of the lophophore. Here are this is the feeding mechanism, how the water is entering, passing over the coils of the lophophore and coming out. That coming out maybe with the same opening or from the lateral openings. This is the soft part inside the shell, and this is the diagrammatic representation of the feeding mechanism in the Brachiopoda. And this is a general diagrammatic diagram of Brachiopod with the ventral and dorsal valves. And this is the ventral view of one Brachiopoda, Terebratella. These are the muscles. Then these are the hair-like structure. This is the lophophore spirals. And this is the mantle cavity. These are the valves, both valves. This is the left side, this is the right side. So these details we have already seen. Now, the feeding mechanism is the smaller cilia drive a flow of mucus along the lophophore arms and into the animal's mouth. Mouth ke andar jata hai. This is here you can see. This is the flow of water. Here it is entering the lateral arms. These are the lateral arms of lophophore, jahan se pani andar ja raha hai. And spiral. This is the spiral. These are the spiral regions of the lophophore जिनसे पानी पास होता है. And this is the ciliated food groove. Water is passing through all these areas, and lastly it is coming out. This is the mouth area. This is the digestive loop. This is the water current. Now this water is entering, which is having the food particles, and those food particles are entangled here, and then the clean water or the clear water comes out. This is the feeding mechanism, or filter feeding. It can be said. The filter feeding takes place in this form. Food particles are trapped in the mucus and eventually digested by the animal. Feces are carried away from the animal in departing central water stream. The continual flow of water over lophophore arms makes them the ideal organ for gaseous exchange also. साथ साथ फूड पार्टिकल्स को हेल्ड करके रखता है म्यूकस, और गैसेस एक्सचेंज के लिए भी एक प्लेटफॉर्म सरफेस प्रोवाइड करता है लोपोपोर. Over the mantle lobes, the respiration takes place. The Inarticulata, which are more modern of the two groups, have an anus which directs the waste into the exhalant current. Sorry. So, ये anus may or may not be present. In Articulata, it is present, through which the undigested food particle is thrown into the outgoing current. In Articulata, a blind ending gut is there, no anus, and wastes are passed out of the mouth only. So this is the feeding, food and digesting mechanism. Here again, this is the details. Here, from here, the water is entering through the lateral opening. Lateral inherent aperture से water enter करता है. ये lophophore के spiral valves हैं, इनके through water run करता है. ये median excellent aperture तक पहुंचता है. अब ये clean water यहाँ पर आ रहे हैं, जो white arrows show हो रहे हैं. This is showing the clean water जहाँ से food और oxygen entangle कर लिया जा चुका है इस lophophoral area में. And this is extending here, second arm of the lophophore, and so water is entering through these two areas, और इस excellent aperture से water is the clean water, और जिससे कि food लिया जा चुका है, oxygen लिया जा चुका है, और बाकी के का clean water बाहर निकल रहा है. So this is the feeding mechanism. Then this excretory and circulatory system. Circulatory system हम इसके पहले भी देख चुके हैं. Circulation is mainly meant for assimilation, digested food particle को distribute करने के लिए. Excretory system is formed of a pair of ciliary tubes, which may be also called as and certain nephridia like structures. along with certain cells which are called coelomocytes, through which the excretory wastes or the metabolic wastes are collected, and they are released into the nephridia-like structure, that is the ciliary tube-like structure, through which these wastes were passed out into the excellent water current through these two nephridia. There are two nephridia in Articulata and four in Articulata. Within the Brachiopoda body or coelomic cavity, there is a fluid which contains blood corpuscles. These we have already seen. These blood corpuscles contain a respiratory pigment called hemierythrin, which is like hemoglobin contains iron. This is the internal structure in diagrammatic representation. This is in the next slide we will see the nervous system. Here is the ganglia, position of the ganglia, and this is the nephridia. It may be one, it may be two in different forms. This is one elaborated view of one nephridia or a ciliated tube. This is the ciliated end and opening at both ends. So this is the structure of a nephridia. The canals within the nephridia are canals within the body through which coelomic fluid flows, but it is not a true blood system. This is about the blood vascular system. Blood vessels which has muscular wall and beats once every 30 to 40 minutes. That is a structure representing the heart. And so this is the circulatory and excretory system. This is one nephridia having opening, such paired structure are present. Now the next is nervous and muscular system. Nervous system is fairly similar in all brachiopods, consisting of ring of nerve encircling the esophagus. This is the detailed structure of the each and every nerve of diagram of nervous system of a crania. That is these the details. If you want, you can go through the very detailed diagram is here, but the basic nerves are the ring of nerve encircling the esophagus. From this ring, outer nerves reach out the mantle, the lophophore, and the muscles to provide the nervous function, that is the coordination. There is no true brain, as brachiopods are ancient and rather than simple animals. The two valves of the shells of brachiopods are opened and closed by muscles. So the nervous and musculature we have already seen, so we are not going into the musculature. As I have already told you, three sets of muscles are there: adductor muscle, adjuster muscles, and diductor muscles. The adductor muscles are the largest. That means they close it. The diductor muscles, they open it, and the adjuster muscles are there, attaches to the ventral valve and the pedicle. Actually, mainly ये adjuster muscle काम करता है पेडिकल को स्टॉक को ventral valve से attach करने में. Then is the reproduction. The most brachiopods are gonochoristic, that is, they are having sexes separate. There is no sexual dimorphism. Sexes separate हैं, but sexually gonads जो है, there is simply a gonad. As we have seen in the earlier diagrams, there is simply a gonadal structure. That is not. This is the gonad, neither ovary nor testis. This is a gonadal structure. It is during the breeding season. It only produces the reproductive gametes, the sperm-like gamete and the ova-like gametes. Gametes are released into the open water, though in many species, ova or eggs are retained within the coelomic cavity, where they can be brooded and protected for a variable length of time. The gonads are housed in either peritoneal band or in other special band in the mantle lobe. Then these are other characteristics. Fertilization is mostly external. Few species brood their eggs and young also. Cleavage radial, coelom and mesoderm formation, at least some brachiopods, is enterocelic. The blastopore closes. This is the embryonic development. In articulates, Metamorphosis of larva occurs after it has attached by a pedicel. Three stages of larval forms in the three different stages of development have been reported in articulates. But in inarticulates, the larval form is not reported. Direct development takes place in inarticulates. There is no metamorphosis in inarticulates, and the metamorphosis at three different levels has been reported in articulates. And larva, after it has attached, larval development ये attach हो जाता है pedicel से, ये larva attach हो जाते हैं pedicel से, और further development three stages में have been reported in articulate forms. So these are the stages in fixing and metamorphosis of Terrestrial. This is one articulate form. This is the detailed metamorphological changes in different forms. If you are interested, otherwise you can just represent your answer or provide your answer with the symbolic representation of these diagrams. So these are the different stages of brachiopod life cycle. This is the entire life cycle with the development of the anterior. These are the stages of developing lophophore. Larval forms किस तरह से develop करते हैं. This is a brachiopod. इसके different ये spawning हो रही है. उसके बाद zygote formation होता है fertilization के बाद. Then these are the three stages of the larval forms. Three stage से ये sessile form में आते हैं. Then settlement होता है, development होता है, and finally this stage is reached. This is one brachiopod that develops. So these are the developmental stages. These are the larval forms. This is the development of the lophophore and the musculature and the gut. So these are diagrammatic representation. Always you can go through the details. Here the gene expression patterns of anterior and posterior genes is also have been given in this diagram in a very symbolic form. These are the abbreviations. These abbreviations you can take by enlarging this diagram, or you can go through Britannica and the encyclopedia, through which you can get the details of this. So in conclusion, it may be concluded that brachiopods are suitable for paleontological analysis. Depending upon factors as water depth, salinity, oxygen level, and static life cycle, the distribution pattern of fossil brachiopod provide useful tool in deducing position of ancient shorelines and past distribution of land and sea. मैंने पहले भी कहा है पैलियोंटोलॉजिकल इंपॉर्टेंस ज़्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है ब्रैकियोपोडा को पढ़ने से. ब्रैकियोपोडा के जो फॉसिल रिकॉर्ड्स हैं उनके हिसाब से एज रॉक्स की एजिंग पता लगाई गई है. तो पैलियोंटोलॉजी में ब्रैकियोपोडा की स्टडी को बहुत इंपॉर्टेंस मिला है, एंड वी कैन हैव अ वेरी सेपरेट क्लास on the importance of the paleontological importance and significance and evidences of brachiopod, जिसके बेसिस पे ये पता चलता है कि किस तरह से जो चट्टान है, जो क्रेव्स हैं, जो मॉर्फिक कॉलोनीज बिल्कुल जैसे कोरल रीफ की तरह के एरियाज रिपोर्ट किए गए हैं बहुत सारे फॉसिल्स का एंशिएंट एरा में, और उनके बेसिस पे रॉक्स की एजिंग पता की गई है in the paleontology. So paleontological importance of Brachiopoda is very much important. Because of rapid evolution of some brachiopod lineages, they can be useful to understand rock aging, succession, and correlations. Some taxonomists recommend a bottom-up approach to classify brachiopods that identify genera and then group them into intermediate groups instead of classifying them to higher levels such as orders. So brachiopod phylogeny is highly debatable. Some consider them as sister group of deuterostomes, others as protostomes, and yet others have placed them between the deuterostomes and protostomes. So deuterostomes में anus पहले develop होता है, protostomes में mouth पहले develop होता है, intermediate stage में भी brachiopoda को रखा गया है. So all together brachiopoda is a very interesting group interested in various branches for various branches of zoology as zoological diversity हम इसको पढ़ सकते हैं as the phylogenetic importance है, evolutionary importance है, और paleontological importance तो उसका बहुत ही ज्यादा है, archaeological और paleontological. So this is all about. आज का क्लास बहुत लंबा हो गया है, but I feel you will find it interesting. So thank you. Do like, share, and subscribe my channel if you want to grow it, and press the bell icon to get notified my further classes. So thank you. See you soon.